Welcome, everyone. I'm Kimberly Boscheman, and this is the Intentionally Intuitive podcast. In this episode, we're going to take a look at the forecast for each life path number for the new moon that's occurring on March 18th or 19th, depending on where you live in the world. Before we get into that forecast, though, this is a general reading. If you would like your own personal numerology reading, please book some time with me. My information's in the description box below, and I'd love to work with you. All right, let's go ahead and take a look. Life path number 1, you are going to be working with the vibration of the 14-5 for this illumination. And the 14-5, often when it comes in a quick cycle, will show us where it is that we keep tripping ourselves up, where it is that we are sabotaging ourselves or sabotaging some kind of connection where we are keeping ourselves stuck. And that can be through our actions, through our belief systems, through how we keep showing up day to day. Like we might say, okay, I want change. I want something to look different. I want my relationship to be different. I want my career to be different. But then we keep showing up in the same exact way, expecting that change to just kind of fall from the sky. And the 14-5 says, in this kind of situation, you are creating the experience that you're having. And if you want a different experience, you're going to have to do things differently. But in order to do that, a lot of times you're going to have to look at where is it that you're sort of selling yourself short, where you're stopping yourself when you start to take that leap of faith or take that risk, especially as a one. A one, this is a lifetime of taking risks, of stepping into that leadership role, even when it's uncomfortable. This is a lifetime of saying yes to what you really want to say yes to see how things unfold. And so this cycle can give you an opportunity to see where it is that you say you're not capable, you say you're not able, you say you're not ready or whatever. But the truth is you are capable, you are ready. You're just holding yourself back. You're keeping yourself in that self-imposed prison, however it may be. So this cycle can help to break down some of those barriers. If you're willing to break, if you really want to see the change that you say you want to see within your experience. But it's going to require you to break free. So ultimately, this cycle is handing you the key. All you have to do is put the key in the hole and open the gate. And once that gate is open, you have to step outside of it. You have to move forward. And this cycle will let you see where it is that the gate could be wide open, but you're staying in the safety of those confines and ultimately selling yourself short. If you've been fearing the unknown, fearing taking the risk, this is the time to confront that. And again, do the thing, say yes to the thing, and say yes to the potential of what could be by you saying yes. And that will ultimately create the freedom that you've been saying you want to see or experience. I pulled a tarot card for you all, and you got the 3 of Pentacles. And immediately what came up here was the importance of working with others, the importance of leading alongside of others. A lot of times ones can get stuck in, hyper independence or the need for that like severe autonomy. And when it comes to creating whatever it is that you're looking to create, a lot of times you may want to do it your way and you might not want to collaborate or hear what other people have to say or share ideas. But with the 3 of Pentacles coming through, especially with this 14-5, this is that reminder that you're not meant to do it all alone. Like, yes, it's meant to be your vision perhaps, and you are meant to take that and run with it and be the visionary, but you're not meant to be an island or do it alone. And so leading alongside of others, working alongside of others, collaborating, connecting, that's what's going to help you to sort of achieve this greater freedom in your self-expression, your creativity, your place in the world, all of these things. You're not meant to do it alone. That lone wolf energy is a myth. And so when the 3 of Pentacles comes through, it's saying you're meant to share your ideas with others, but be open to the ideas of others as well. And find a way to work together in order to bring those ideas to life in some way. So great cycle to call in the people that can help you to connect and collaborate. If you try to do it alone, you're just going to work harder, not smarter. So flip the script and see how things work out. Life path number 2, you are going to be working with the vibration of the 15-6 for this illumination. And so when this comes through in a cycle, it can first and foremost have us looking at our sort of close connections, our personal relationships, as well as our place in the community. And when we're looking at those connections, this is a great time to see where is it that some greater communication needs to occur, where maybe there's something that needs to be addressed that we have been avoiding for whatever reason. Anytime we move through one of these cycles, it gives us an opportunity to bring truth to light. So this is a wonderful time to initiate those conversations that can get everyone on the same page, that can help people to understand, what's needed in order to move forward in a healthy, balanced, unified way. It has an opportunity, or brings forth the opportunity to bring truth and honesty to light. So this is going to be one of those cycles where you're going to have to be very honest with yourself. You're going to have to be very honest with others about what you need, how you feel, what it is that you need to thrive, and also be very open to what others have to say, that they need as well. And then work together in order to find that common ground. And for some, that's going to mean potentially moving in different directions. When we move through a 15-6 cycle, sometimes we can see breaks within those connections, but those breaks need to occur because two people want two different things, right? Their paths are now sort of diverging and going in opposite directions. And so instead of kind of holding a grudge and holding that person sort of in contempt because they don't want the same things that you want, or things look differently, there's ways to do it in love and appreciation for the time that you spend together and all of that. So, and also because you want what's best for that person, as well as wanting what's best for you. So whether it's, a work environment where you need to have that conversation and perhaps move in a different direction. I mean, that's very possible at this time as well. But the flip side of that is this cycle can actually strengthen connections. So again, through those conversations, through being very open, through seeking that understanding and creating the space where everyone has an opportunity to do so. So it just depends on what your circumstances call for, but this is an opportunity to create an experience where everyone gets to move in the direction that serves their highest good. And ultimately, that's what we want. The other thing I would say is pay attention to, and this cycle may bring it up very clearly for you, pay attention to where it is that you have, almost extreme expectations on yourself or on others, or where you have conditions, right? Like, I love you if, or I support you if. Where is it that you hold those conditions or those expectations, or hold someone to sort of an extreme standard that they're likely not going to be able to reach? Especially when we're talking about like expectations, where is it that you have expectations for yourself that are just so far out of your reach that trying to reach them now in this moment just leaves you feeling frustrated and like you're unworthy or not good enough or all of the things. Meet yourself where you are at in this moment. Recognize your limitations, recognize your strengths, and find a way to work with it all. When we have these extreme expectations, whether it's again on ourselves or with others, we're just holding people to and ourselves to unachievable standards or unachievable in this moment. And so all that does is hold us back and keep us stuck. So this is an opportunity to take a closer look at that. Where is it in your relationships, in your deeper connections, in your community, where you hold those expectations that aren't being met? And how do you handle that? Like, does it make you frustrated? Do you feel unseen, unheard, all of the things? This is an opportunity to dive a little bit deeper into that and to recognize where it is that you need to start showing up a little bit differently. How you talk to yourself, how you treat yourself, how you speak to others, how you treat others. Is it coming from a place of meeting that person where they're at, or is it coming from a place of trying to get them to meet those expectations? Meeting yourself where you're at and meeting others where you're at is where you make the most progress. So this is one of those cycles that can show you very clearly where that is and where some changes might be needed. Now, it's interesting because I pulled a tarot card for you all, and you got the Emperor. So this is all about wisdom. This is about, feeling very confident and secure in what you have created, in what you have achieved. And so if there's some area of your life where you're not feeling that, then this is an opportunity to take a closer look at why. Are you in the wrong job? Are you in the wrong relationship? Are you in, and when I say wrong, I just mean one that's either served its purpose and no longer contributing to your growth and experience in a way that you want it to? Or, is it just that deeper conversation is needed to get everyone on the same page so that you can move forward together in a way that's much more healthy and aligned? But the Emperor coming through is just saying, you have the wisdom. So what are you going to do with it? How are you going to sort of look through that lens when it comes to achieving what you want to achieve, while also being open to the wisdom of others and understanding that their direction might look very, very different. And that's okay. Life path number 3, you are going to be working with the vibration of the 16-7 for this illumination. And so this is one of those energies that kind of pushes you through some kind of physical experience. That experience opens you up to the more spiritual side of things. Like, it allows you to see things from a much higher perspective once you've moved through sort of the demanding physical experience. And through that experience, it's helping you to recognize your true power. The 16-7 is sort of the vibration of Pluto, where Pluto, this journey, as we work with Pluto energy throughout our chart and throughout transits, it opens us up to our true power, to the true sense of who we are. And a lot of times that's hidden from us for a while, and we have to go through the extreme experiences of unlocking that power and discovering what that power truly is. But once we step into it, once we unlock it, once we are awakened to it, then we become empowered in our own lives, right? We recognize what it is that we want, what it is that we need, and we're able to advocate for that. We're able to speak up for that, and we're likely to not accept less than that. And that's sort of the goal of Pluto, and also this vibration of the 16-7. The 16-7 also is pushing you to, I don't want to say like override your ego, and I'm not a believer in killing the ego. I think we very much need the ego, or we wouldn't have been born with one. But it's kind of putting the ego in its place. And so you might see through this cycle where it is that you have a wounded ego. Like perhaps you're falling into victim mode too much, or you're kind of getting stuck in that energy. Or maybe you have an inflated ego and you feel the need to manipulate or control others in some way and use your power to do so. So when you move through the 16-7 energy, the experience can feel very raw and very like in your face and very present, but it's helping you to awaken to a greater understanding of what's needed moving forward so that you can heal that wounded ego or sort of deflate that inflated ego a bit and bring things into greater balance. But again, connecting to the spiritual sort of energy of the experience so that you can see it from a higher lens or through a higher lens. And in that process, it unlocks the truth of who you are, the truth of what you want, the truth of how you are meant to express yourself and what feels best for you in this moment, because we're constantly changing and evolving. But it has the potential to tap you into your personal magic. And that's going to look different for everybody. But as we move through 16-7 cycles, it can be that sort of come to Jesus moment in some area of our life, some kind of greater awakening that can lead to some kind of greater change that can then lead to some kind of greater momentum towards whatever it is that we want for ourselves in that moment. And like I said, it can tap us into that greater sense of our own magic, our own power. And then we can decide what we want to do with it. So as we move through a 16-7 cycle, there can be things that feel challenging or difficult, or again, like the veil is lifted and we weren't ready to see what we're being shown, but we'll figure out how to work with it. We'll figure out what we need to do. And in that process, again, we tap into our own inner strengths, our inner magic, our power. So it's a very powerful cycle, but it can feel a little tumultuous, a little rocky as you're rolling through it. But once you get to the other side of it, you're likely to look back and be like, wow, I'm so glad I went through that because I wouldn't have recognized this side of myself without that experience. It's interesting because I pulled a tarot card for you all and you got the 2 of Cups. And though this can indicate some kind of like soulmate energy coming together with someone who you see eye to eye with, who feels like they fill you up, right? Emotionally. It can also indicate like strengthening some kind of connection that's already existing, where maybe there was a little bit of like bumps along the way, but you're able to again come together and see eye to eye, make some kind of compromise here. But ultimately with this energy, it's getting to a place of that equal exchange of energy within your connections. So where is it that in some connections, because we show up differently to different relationships, it's just the nature of humans. And so, it's just that opportunity to look at where is it that, which relationships are you showing up to where you're the giver and you're not able to receive, right? So that's an out of balance connection. Where is it that maybe you are the taker and the other person is not able to receive? And so again, that's a connection that's out of balance. So it's possible that you'll have an opportunity to kind of look across your connections. And this can be, any kind of connection that comes to mind where it feels out of balance. This is an opportunity to heal or to mend or to equalize, right? To balance it in some way. Because if you've ever seen the Two of Cups in tarot, at the top of sort of the image is this lion with wings. So again, the wings kind of indicate like the higher octave, the spiritual. And the lion is like that power, that empowerment, that sense of empowerment and that strength. So it may require some strength to sort of initiate this healing, right? You might have to advocate for yourself, speak up for what you need, make it known what you want or what it is that you're looking for, and have the space and the capacity to be able to also hear what the other person has to say. But with this energy coming through, especially with a 16-7, you could find that there are revelations that come to light through your connections, greater understanding about yourself, about others, about the world, through your connections. And so that can that can tend to be some kind of like catalyst in that situation where, again, it just opens you up to so much more. And then it's up to you what you decide to do with it. So beautiful energy here. And for some of you, you might meet someone who tends to be a catalyst in the situation and can just totally shift your world 180 degrees in a lot of ways. So anything is possible. Hope it's a great one. Life path number 4. So we're going to be working with the vibration of the 17-8 for this illumination. And this is a really benefic, beautiful cycle to be moving through, especially when it comes to like work or, when it has to do with like your expertise or authority, when it comes to how you speak up for yourself, advocate for yourself, power, money, status, influence, all of those things sort of governed by the 8 energy. But it's a very helping type of energy. So this is a time where you could see assistance come through, where help can show up. If you're looking to take out a loan, you could get a yes on that or the green light. It could seem to flow very easily, which for a 4 is fantastic. Anytime we get momentum that feels like it's sort of a gift from the universe, it's something to celebrate, because usually everything we do takes a lot of effort. And, it does stem from the work that you've put in, obviously. But, and you will have to ask potentially for what it is that you need. But this is one of those times where you could see you get the green light. Or again, like things just kind of fall into your lap, or the next step falls into your lap. Or if you've been hitting a bunch of red lights, all of a sudden, here's a string of green ones. It's that kind of beautiful, flowing type of energy. And so this would be one of those times where I would say, think big, think in broad, sweeping terms when it comes to what it is that you need at this time in order to achieve what you're looking to achieve. So maybe you need someone to write a letter of recommendation for something. Maybe you're looking for a loan. Maybe there's a particular job that you want. And so, maybe you're just missing a couple of the things they might be looking for, but you're going to go for it anyways and just see what happens. And this is one of those times, like I said, now can't guarantee anything. Of course, this is a general reading, but you have the support of the universe behind you. Like this is one of those cycles where this is helping energy. So people, places, things can show up at this time that can feel like the missing puzzle piece. And then you're able to just get some momentum and move forward. So very, very benefic here. This would be one of those times too, where I would say, if you've been wanting to launch something or put something out into the world, express yourself in a certain way, share your expertise on a bigger stage, whatever it is that's where you are sharing your wisdom, your expertise, your gifts, your contributions in the world. This is a beautiful cycle to initiate that. There is a very spiritual component to this, and it does require you to follow your intuition, which is a big part of the 4 energy anyway. We are meant to follow our intuition. There's such depth to the 4 that often isn't talked about, but there's a depth to it that we're meant to be heart-led. We are meant to follow that intuition, and we're meant to couple that with the very practical, systematic side of ourselves as well. But because the 7 is here with the 17-8, this is one of those times where you might get a great business idea might come through your dream or through a download or through something that someone says, or someone may approach you about a business opportunity or some kind of collaboration or something like that. And I would say, don't be too quick to say no to it. Be very open to what they have to say. And a lot of times with 4 energy, because we can be more hyper independent, when it comes to sort of team efforts, like a lot of times that can be difficult for 4s because 4s are very solution focused and very much like, I know how to do this, I'm going to do it. And so this might kind of push against that a little bit, because it is saying like, if someone comes to you with a business opportunity, how can you make it your own without negating the other person's contribution as well, right? And how can you contribute in a way that feels fulfilling for you and feels like you're serving that greater purpose, but while also following your intuition. So again, I say, don't be too quick to dismiss something that might present, and just take your time. Be patient when it comes to sort of evaluating whether this is for you or not. And don't overlook the potential of what it could be, especially if you're a part of it. So very beautiful energy here with the 17-8. And because it's the 8 energy, you have an opportunity here to initiate something or be a part of something that could prove to be quite financially successful, or successful when it comes to your career path or, your money, power, status, influence, etc. So this can be a very magical time for 4s. Just don't be too stubborn. Don't be too quick to dismiss. Just because it wasn't your idea, perhaps, doesn't mean it's not a great idea, especially if you're a part of it. The other thing here I would say is, just to reiterate, this might be a time where you have to ask for what you need or what you want. And I would say, don't hold back. Go all in. And if it doesn't work out, then it wasn't meant for you at this moment. Maybe it's still cooking. I pulled a tarot card for us, and we got the 5 of Swords. And so this is interesting because it ties into everything I've been saying here, right? You just want to be careful of being too stubborn. You got to be careful of my way or the highway type of energy, or the need to be right. A lot of times 4s can be very stubborn, and so we have to be really careful about that, especially when it comes to working with like 8 energy, where likely we're going to have to work together in order to create the thing. And we have to make sure that those powers are balanced and not like, there's no hierarchy or whatever. So with the 5 of Swords coming through, it's just that reminder to just, is it more important in this moment to be right? Or is it more important to collaborate and seek understanding and have the conversations and understand that everybody is right? Like everybody has something to contribute. So how can we like incorporate all that to make it all work? So just be careful about like the need to be right, the need to sort of stand your ground at all costs without being a little bit flexible or a lot flexible. I think that's going to be really, really important, because the more flexible you can be, the more that you're able to compromise, not sacrifice, but compromise, the more you're going to work smarter, not harder, the more you're going to see things start to flow. So you might find yourself in a position during this illumination where you're the follower, right? Someone else has the big idea and you're contributing in a way to bring it to life because you believe in the vision. So that's very, very possible. It's just that opportunity for 4s to, just to loosen up a bit, not take things so serious, and to recognize that there are many ways to do great things. and you have an opportunity, very likely, to be a part of something great at this moment. So I say choose wisely. Life path number 5, you are going to be working with a vibration of the 18-9 for this illumination. And I love this for you all because, when we move through a 9 cycle, like, yes, it can bring in some things closing out, but a lot of times what's closing out or what's falling away are the things that we're just finishing up. Like, we've put our energy towards it, we've stopped procrastinating, and we saw it through to completion. And so now it's done, it's falling off. It doesn't always have to be like this dramatic loss or this dramatic release. It can be, but it can also be just that relief of like, whoo, look at, I've accomplished this. I've finished this. I'm good. I've seen it through to completion. And not only that, when we're moving through a 9 cycle, we have the opportunity to reap the rewards from that effort, from, turning in that project or launching that thing or, whatever it might be, finishing that commission project, whatever it might be, then we're able to see the rewards of that. So the 9 cycle can bring in those rewards, that recognition, those accolades, which are usually directly proportionate to the effort we put forward. So it can be a really rewarding cycle to move through. And because the 8 vibration is here, right, 18, it absolutely can be a cycle that impacts your finances, that impacts your, standing, when it comes to how your work is received, your power, your money, your status, your influence, etc. can absolutely come into the focus under this cycle. And because, again, it's a very spiritual energy of the 9, it can bring in the people who are very much aligned with the work that you're doing or how you're contributing or the purpose you want to be a part of. So it can open doors for you as well. And again, it can align you with the people, places, things that you're meant to align with at this time in your journey that can help you as you move forward. So in a sense, it's kind of that helper type of energy where doors can open at this time. People can recognize what you have to offer, your gifts, your talents, your worth. You could be recognizing that about yourself, which is really, really important. Ultimately, it's the most important, right? It starts with how we speak to ourselves, how we, what we believe about ourselves when it comes to how we contribute in the world. So a lot of times when we move through an 18-9 cycle, it's a healing type of energy. But, a lot of people hear that and they're like, oh my God, I've done so much healing and I'm done, but we're constantly in healing mode, right? We're constantly healing from something. And it doesn't have to be like this super dramatic thing. It can just be like, part of healing is recognizing that it's time to evolve. It's time to, make changes, do something different, approach things differently in some way. And in doing so, we heal that side of ourselves that didn't think it was possible or that, we're limiting ourselves in some way. So when I say like it can be that healing cycle, it's more along those lines. Like what in you right now needs some TLC, needs some attention, needs to be sort of lifted up. And maybe it's, a belief system. Maybe it's, the actions that you're taking. Maybe it is something very significant, like an addiction or something like that, or feeling unworthy. And so maybe it will take a little bit more work than the average bear in order to, sort of iron that out. But for some, it's just as simple as trying something new and then recognizing like, wow, I didn't know I could do that. Kind of pushing yourself a little bit to see what you're capable of, to prove to yourself that you're capable of X, Y, or Z. And if it doesn't work out, then okay, this wasn't meant for me. So then you kind of heal that piece of yourself of, never knowing unless you try type of thing. So it's so multi-layered and so nuanced. But anytime we move through an 18-9 cycle, it really gives us the opportunity to tap into something new about ourselves that we didn't understand about ourselves before, or that was sort of hidden from our view. So we have an opportunity to unlock that through the experiences that we have as we move through that cycle. And that has healing potential in a lot of ways. So I would say this is one of those cycles where tie up the loose ends, stop procrastinating, finish those projects, dedicate your time and energy to the things that you want to achieve a goal with, right? That you're ready to complete. And this energy can really help you to do that. This is not a cycle where I would say to start something new, because you will likely have to come back and revisit it, especially if it's something that is brand new right out of the gate. This is a great planning time though. So if something new does come in for you, this is a great time to get your ducks in a row, to figure out a strategy, to say yes, but maybe, the start date is a few weeks down the road once this sort of new moon energy subsides. But this is one of those times for just the mulling over, the germination, right? Planting the seeds and then deciding, what you're going to do with them when the harvest comes. That's the kind of energy that you're working with. And your energy would be much more well placed with things that, you've put to the side and you can pick back up and see it through to completion and get it off your plate. That's going to feel really, really good under this vibration. I pulled a tarot card for you all and you got the Star card. And again, this just brings in that spiritual element. It brings in that energy or that reminder that like anything is possible. You might not be able to do it yourself, but anything is possible. So who do you need to call in to help? Because this is a helper type of energy. So whether it is from the unseen, whether it is, colleagues or friends or family or just investors or whatever, who do you need to help to support you at this time to achieve what it is you're looking to achieve? And then ask. Some will say yes, some will say no. And if they say no, it's okay. Then it wasn't that person wasn't meant to be on that project with you. But this is one of those times where the veil is thin and the flowing energy is abundant to help you to achieve what you're looking to achieve. You just got to set your mind to it, figure out the strategy, plan, and decide how you want to tackle it, while also clearing your plate for the wonderful things that want to come in. So ultimately, this is one of those cycles where I would say, think about what it is that you need and then ask for it. And or ask how you can be a part of it, bring it to life. And you'll very likely see those answers come in. Life path number 6, you are going to be working with a vibration of the 19-1 for this illumination. So the 19-1 is a karmic energy. And so all that really means when it comes in a cycle is that things can feel like you need to put in a little bit more effort than you would normally have to, or that your peers might be doing. So this is not a cycle to compare yourself to others. And I would say don't do that anyway. But this is one of those times where you really have to come back to self and focus on where you are at in your journey and how you feel about that. Like not comparing yourself to others about where others are at on their journey, but like where are you at? How do things look in your life? And how do you feel about that? Because that's gonna be your indicator for where is it that I need to make some changes? Where is it that I need to do something differently? Or where is it that I need to continue to build on what I have already been building? The 19-1 can be a very benefic cycle as well. And it can bring in a lot of rewards. It can bring in a lot of, again, like accolades, recognition, new beginnings for sure. This is a time of rapid new beginnings or new opportunities coming your way. And you might have to overcome some self-doubt or some, if you're feeling like not worthy of the new opportunity that might be presented or the promotion or the recognition that might open doors for you. This can be one of those times where you have to grapple with that imposter syndrome or that feeling of not worthy, right? And when you can do that, then by saying yes to some of these new opportunities that may present at this time, and by new opportunities, that might be just an idea that you have that you're not necessarily meant to like throw yourself fully into, but that you're meant to explore and sort of dissect and come up with a game plan or plant those seeds and sort of initiate that process. But definitely pay attention to your dreams, to, again, like how you feel about something, to your daydreams, right? Where does your mind go when you're just kind of like zoning out? Because there could be something there that's looking for you to take the reins and go with it and see what you can build from it. 19-1 energy a lot of times has the potential to bring in success. It does require a lot of effort though. It does require showing up, right? It's not an idle energy because ultimately it's a lot of one energy, but it's that vibration of sort of being the visionary, right? Taking that idea and turning it into something real and something tangible. So it might be as simple as, you know that you want to move. And so now you really have to get serious about figuring out what is it going to take in order for you to do so? Do you want to buy a house? Do you want to rent an apartment? Where do you want to live? What does that look like? And so it can be that getting started on those steps necessary to figure it out. And again, like what is it going to take? Do I have to sell my current house? How much do I need to ask in order, et cetera, et cetera. So it can be that, right? And that you are sort of the co-creator of this new potential opportunity, or at least you're initiating it to see where it goes, or what path it eventually leads you down. But this would be one of those cycles where I would say, be very open to the opportunities, the ideas, the inspirations that come in for you at this time, and don't be too quick to dismiss, right? Like, don't talk yourself out of it, whatever it might be. Maybe you want to take a new course, and that will open doors for you down the road when it comes to sharing your expertise in some way. Any way it comes in for you. Or maybe you've been single for a while and you want to, start dating again or connect with someone on a deeper, more spiritual level. And the 19-1 is perfect for that. This is soulmate kind of energy. So if you're putting yourself out there, if you're telling the universe, I'm ready, I'm open, it's very possible that you might connect with someone very significant at this time. But it's going to require you to make that shift from I'm not ready, or I'm not looking, or I don't want, right? It's never a guarantee, because I feel like when soulmates, when the time is right, it happens. Those connections happen, and we can't mess it up, and we can't force it, and we can't stop it. But under a 19-1 cycle, all the ingredients are there. So if the timing is right, if the divine timing is right, for some of you, this is going to be one of those times where you might meet someone very significant, but you have to be ready for it when it presents, when that individual presents. If you don't feel worthy of love or relationships, then guess what, right? Like you'll likely sabotage it. So there's a lot here with that, but I would say any opportunity that presents at this time, just be open. You don't have to commit to it, right? You just have to be open and explore, be curious, see where it takes you. But the potential for this cycle to be very like kind of like a whirlwind type of energy is very, very, very much so. So just pace yourself. Don't be overly impulsive. You do your due diligence, but just allow yourself to be open to the possibilities. And don't try to control what it's going to look like. Don't try to sort of overthink it. Just let it happen, while being open to the potential of what could be, and then take your actions accordingly. Now, very much aligned with this energy, I pulled a tarot card for you, and you got the King of Pentacles. This is a very solid, structured type of energy, but it's very successful as well. And the 19-1 actually has the potential to be very successful, but it's going to require you in order for it to work. And same thing with the King of Pentacles. This is one of those energies where this person got to where they're at because of their dedication, their work, their smarts, their expertise, making the right decisions, or learning from those decisions if they weren't so right, and releasing what didn't work, building on what did, and not getting stuck in the woe is me type of energy. But you all have the potential in some area of your life to build something very solid, very stable, very secure. It doesn't have to be huge and grandiose. It can be as simple as, I want to have a garden and I'm going to build that for myself and my family. And then you will reap what you sow, quite literally. And there's wealth in that, right? There's sustenance, there's abundance in that. So however it shows up in your life, you have the power in this moment to create something very solid, very successful, very long withstanding in your life, in your experience. Could be a relationship, something along those lines. But the way I read it is the 19-1 is the beginning. This is the new opportunity. So what are you going to do with it? Take the risk, take the leap of faith. And the King of Pentacles is showing you what the potential is, right? To have that success, that abundance, that sitting solid in your throne, right? With your crown on your head, having done the work and having achieved what might have seemed really impossible at one time. So believing in yourself to be able to do what's best for you in this moment and to be successful at it, and ultimately reap the rewards. Well, life path number 7, you all are going to be working with the vibration of the 22, so 202. And this is one of those cycles where this could feel like you've come to some kind of impasse or some kind of decision needs to be made. And I think it's probably going to bring in several different decisions that need to be made at this time. And this is one of those energies where it is in your best interest to be decisive, to be discerning, and to make the decision. Sometimes that's easier said than done, though. Usually when we're making some kind of a decision, we're deciding between two or more things. And if we say yes to one, we have to say no to the other, to some degree anyway. And that's usually what brings in the dilemma, or keeps us from making the decision and taking the action. And when we move through a 22 cycle, it's saying the time is now. Like, we've got to make the decision, or we're going to stay sort of in this loop. We're going to stay stuck. And then we're going to feel really frustrated or have regret because we didn't pursue the thing that we feel called to pursue. So this is one of those times where I would say, it's going to be really important to weigh your options, to be very honest with yourself as well, and to kind of drown out the external noise if you can, and come back to yourself. What is it that you feel you need in this moment? What is going to best serve your direction forward towards what you want to be actually moving towards? Once you weigh those options, and once you land on what you feel is best for you in this moment, then create a plan, right? Decide what that action is going to look like when you go to take the action, whatever it might be. And for some of you, this could be coming out of your shell and putting yourself out there in some way, or sharing your ideas, a project, trying something new, sharing your magic in some way that maybe you haven't shared before. And that can feel a little bit daunting. That can feel a little bit overwhelming. And you just don't want to let the overwhelm or that, that feeling of it being daunting keep you from doing the thing. And so you want to make sure that the decisions that you make allow for you to take some kind of action at this time as well. And that action could just be a baby step in the direction that you have decided that you want to move in. So if you've been single for a while and you want to put yourself out there, you want to start dating again, the first step is to figure out what is the best, where is it that you want to be, whether it's online dating or, start a new hobby or join some kind of meetup. Like, where do you feel comfortable being in order to meet new people? So first you have to kind of decide, once you make the decision, like, yes, I'm ready to start dating again or whatever, then you have to decide, okay, well, where do I feel most comfortable? Where do I have the greatest chance of connecting with someone with similar values or with similar interests or etc. So it's not like a one and done necessarily. I mean, it can be, but when the 22 energy comes through, it's usually like a chain of events that require many decisions to be made. Okay, yes, I want to put myself out there. Okay, now what does that look like? What do I need to do in order to do that? And there's lots of choices, lots of options. And so this is one of those cycles that will shed light on where it is that you need to start to make some kind of decision or decisions in order to move your life forward in that area of your life. And so if it comes to some kind of a project or some kind of, you sharing your gifts in some way, it might look very different than what you've done in the past, but that's also the beauty of the 22. It helps you to see where it is that you feel like you've been missing, something's been missing in your life. Because with the 2 energy, it gives us the opportunity to be the observer, to see where the disconnect is, and then to find the solutions that can bring that connection. So for you all, this is an opportunity to see where you feel like something is missing in your life, where you don't feel as fulfilled as you would hope that you would. And again, that can be through creative expression or relationship or friendship or hobbies, you name it, or pets. And so this cycle can likely bring something to light that requires you to make the decision and, first weigh your options, be decisive, make the decision, formulate a plan, and then take action. And that can feel so incredibly fulfilling. Just that act, just that taking back your power when it comes to moving your life forward in some way, in some area, can feel very, very empowering. especially when we follow through. It's one thing to sort of make the decision and then sort of sit on it without taking any action. Then you're not going to see any or very many results from that. So it's kind of this whole process that is likely going to be occurring around this new moon for you all. This is going to require a lot of you, but this energy kind of brings the kick in the butt that you might need in order to make that happen. What I will say is be really careful about, again, just sort of sitting on this energy and not taking any kind of action, like not making the decision or making the decision, then not taking action, because that can bring in a lot of restlessness and anxiety that can just kind of, weigh you down even further. So just be careful about that. And it's okay to make the decision and then take your time in getting started on the process. But this is one of those times where it's like, you got to make the decision if you want to move forward in that area of your life. And it's so fascinating because I pulled a tarot card, and of course, you got the Ace of Pentacles. And this is like the carrot that's being dangled in front of you by the universe that's saying, you can have it all. You can have whatever your heart's desires. You can have, you can think big and you can achieve big, but you have to make the decision and then actually walk through the gate in order to do that. Because if you look at, the typical depiction of the Ace of Pentacles is this sort of gate or arch that you have to kind of walk through towards the mountain that you're going to have to eventually summit, right? It's a journey, and it's not necessarily going to be an easy journey, but it's going to be one that will be very fulfilling, because the main image on the card, of course, is the hand coming from the clouds, the divine opportunity with this huge pentacle. And so it's basically very much aligned with the 22. In order to reap the rewards, in order to see the success, whatever success means for you, in order to feel fulfilled, you not only have to make the decision to do what's in your best interest in this moment, but you have to take the action, and you actually have to move in that direction and make the decisions and take the actions that will help you to do that. And you have the potential to feel very fulfilled from those decisions and those actions. So if you've been thinking about it, now's the time to get started. Be decisive, be discerning, right? Make sure that you're investing and putting your time into the things that you actually want, that actually make sense for you in this moment. And that may evolve and change, but then you can make different decisions down that road. But this is the time to get started. So if you've been sitting on the fence, now's the time to figure out what's next. And I think you're going to be really happy with the outcome. Life path number 8, you are going to be working with the vibration of the 21-3 for this illumination. And this is one of those energies where you could really see a lot open up for you now, especially creatively, or if you're, a writer or a speaker, or if you've been kind of entertaining that to some degree, you could see a lot kind of come in for you at this time, especially when around like communication. So you could see the lines of communication opening up for you at this time. If there's been misunderstandings, this is the time to sort of, seek out that greater understanding and advocate for yourself, speak up for yourself, especially when it comes to what you feel you need in this moment, in order to feel successful, in order to achieve what you're looking to achieve. And that can be, in your connections, in your work, whatever it might be. So wherever it is that you sort of stop yourself before expressing yourself, or if you stop yourself before seeking that greater understanding, this is a time to be the initiator, be the instigator, so to speak, and see what you can discover through those conversations. Like, this is going to be a cycle where the conversation needs to be had. So if you're someone who falls more towards like avoidance or not wanting to like ruffle feathers or rock the boat, this is one of those times where you can have conversations without ruffling feathers. How someone else chooses to engage is, outside of the scope of your responsibility, and you don't have control over that. But you do have control over like speaking out for yourself or speaking up for yourself, advocating for what it is that you need, that sort of thing. So you might find yourself in positions or situations where that's needed at this time, and it's going to be in your best interest to do so. The other thing I would say about this cycle is it's really pushing you to connect with, and this is going to sound, of course, trite, but what brings you joy, like what makes you happy, what lights you up, what you're passionate about, where it is that you actually want to be investing your time and energy into, where it is that allows you to feel creative, like, you have a voice, that your ideas matter. And if it's not in the workplace, it's in how you share your gifts, how you create, how you, work towards greater goals and greater visions that you have for yourself or your community. And so you might find that your creativity is like an all-time high at this time. And I would say you might not have an outlet for all of that creative energy that's flowing through you at this time, but, write it down. Just by writing it down, the ideas, the inspirations, that's an outlet. Like you're giving it space. And then you can come back to it and, decide if it's something you want to take further. Relationships come into play very much so during this cycle, more so like, colleagues working together, business partnerships, collaborations, very much in the spotlight at this time. So if you do have an opportunity to do that, and I would say even seek out people who have similar interests or values or greater, a similar vision to what you have, and see how you can collaborate, how you can work together. Because, by pooling your resources, by pooling your ideas and again, your creativity, the potential impact is that much greater. What you can achieve is potentially that much greater. And so this is one of those times also I would say, if the invite comes in, say yes and see what comes from it. So, if you have an opportunity to connect with others, mingle, collaborate, this is such a great time to do that. And I think you'll feel really, really fulfilled from that process. Now, you could also connect with some people who kind of push your buttons and sort of confront you with where it is that maybe you're holding yourself back. A lot of times, I would say most times, when we are in some kind of conflict or some kind of situation that feels less than desirable, a lot of times it's showing us where we are holding ourselves back. Like, where is it that we need to speak up more for ourselves? Where is it that we need to advocate more strongly? Where is it that we're holding ourselves back from sharing those ideas, those inspirations, or from even pursuing them? And so this is one of those times where your interactions with others can confront you with where it is that you're lacking confidence, you're lacking that ability to take the risk when the universe is asking you to take the leap. And these are situations where you can either get very frustrated with the person who's holding up the mirror, and kind of waste your time and energy on that engagement, or you can take it as an opportunity to say, why did this trigger me so much? Why did this affect me so much? And likely what you'll find out is because it's showing you somewhere that you don't believe in yourself, or you don't feel worthy enough, or you're not saying yes when you should be saying yes, and you're holding yourself back. You're creating those barriers. Because ultimately, if you set your mind to something as an 8, you're going to achieve it. Not necessarily alone, but you're going to find a way to achieve it. Absolutely. It's not necessarily going to be easy, and it's going to require a lot of personal strength, but you'll find a way. So there's really not a lot you can't do, especially when you're doing it with others. And so these experiences that, feel very frustrating and very limiting are actually just showing you like where you're keeping yourself stuck in this moment. And you just have to figure out how to get through it, or to get around it, or above it in some way. And you will. That's the beauty of the 8. And it's likely going to require some kind of risk and taking a chance, and ultimately taking a chance on yourself. So just kind of keep that in mind, especially if you come across people during this new moon that just rub you the wrong way, or that are opposing you in some way, or that feel like they are keeping or kind of holding you back. Just find a different route, and you might have to create the different route. Right? You might have to blaze down that path that hasn't been blazed down before. I would also say just be really mindful of your emotions at this time. You don't want to be overly reactive. Take the time to pause. You don't owe anyone an immediate answer. And especially if it's coming from a place of a charged emotion, just take your time. Just make sure that how you're responding is what's in the best interest of your long-term goals. Now I pulled a tarot card for you all. And you got the High Priestess. And ultimately, this is coming back to your intuition. Not even that, it's coming back to you. So this is one of those times where I would say this is the opportunity again to check in with yourself, to make sure that what you're pursuing is what feels most aligned for you in this moment, and come back to your why. Like that's so important for eights. It's important for everyone, but it's so important for eights to keep coming back to your why. Has that why gotten jaded? Has that why gotten distorted in some way? Have you let the external pressures or external sort of requirements or expectations cloud your judgment when it comes to how you invest your time and energy? So this is such a beautiful time to come back to your why, because your soul knows. Your soul never set you up for failure, nor will it. It's always going to lead you in the direction that is for your highest good and of your highest purpose. And so, if you're listening to that, you're listening to your intuition, your inner guidance, and you're merging that with what, the information that you're receiving from the external, you're unstoppable. And so this cycle is really helping you to remember that. And with a high priestess coming through, take the, again, be informed by what the information you have that's coming in from the external, but let your ultimate decision-making process come down to you and your intuition and what it is that you feel you want in this moment, or what is best for you in this moment, or for your experience in this moment. Very powerful cycle, eights. So don't get caught up in the pettiness of like, oh, this person did X, Y, and Z, and now I'm stuck and I can't move forward. No, you'll find your way. And it's just really pushing you to see that there's a different way that doesn't have as many obstacles or as many thorns. So, you'll find it. You just got to keep looking. And your soul is always throwing you the breadcrumbs. So pay attention. All right, I hope it's a great one. Take care, eights. Life path number 9, you are going to be working with master number 22-4 for this cycle. So anytime we work with a master number, it requires a tremendous amount of effort and perseverance and leadership type of energy in order to accomplish what we're looking to accomplish or achieve what we're looking to achieve. It's not something that's just handed over to us. It's one of those cycles that says you've got to put in a lot of work. You've got to show up. You've got to be dedicated. You've got to be very clear on the path that you need to go down in order to achieve what you're looking to achieve. And, there's going to be challenges along the way, and probably very extreme challenges that you'll have to overcome. But the 22-4 promises big rewards, massive rewards. So while you're in it and you're going through the mud and the muck, it can feel very overwhelming, like you're never going to get through it. But once you do get through it, you're like, wow, I'm in like a totally different space. Like the rewards, the recognition, the success are flowing in because of what you have done. And again, success looks different for everyone. So it's what's important to you. But the 22-4 cycle says you are the master builder in this moment. And you can have what it is that you desire, but you have to build it. You have to figure out how to build it. And that can mean calling in people to assist and collaborating and working with others, etc. Because you're not going to do it on your own with 22-4 energy. It's one of those cycles that reminds us that we're not an island, that we have to work together in order to achieve great things. So in some area of your life, you likely will have to connect with someone, and whether that's asking for help, and not help of someone just handing it over and doing it for you, help in the sense of sharing ideas, gaining new perspectives, working together in some way to achieve something substantial. And that is the kind of help that can come through in massive amounts during a 22-4 cycle that can bring that greater success, that can bring that greater fulfillment down the road. Because it's 4 energy, things move a bit more slowly. So, whatever you initiate at this new moon will likely take time to come to fruition, but it will be worth the investment. It will be worth the effort. And it will require effort. So, and patience and persistence and showing up. So you just got to keep doing that. And then you'll reap the rewards, and you'll be really glad that you didn't, turn around and not make summit, so to speak. So very, very powerful cycle here. It is going to require you to see it through to completion, whatever it might be. Giving up too easy is not an option with this energy, especially if it's something you really, truly want. You've got to persevere and keep going. And, you can take breaks, you can pause, but you got to pick it back up and keep going. in order to see the results. So if it's with a relationship, then it might require couples therapy or trying new things, or again, having the conversation with your partner about what's needed, where is the disconnect and how can the two of you bring that connection back in to the relationship. There's just so many ways that this can show up. But wherever it shows up for you, especially if it's an initiation under this new moon, it's going to take time. So be, pace yourself, have a plan, have a strategy, take appropriate rest, get yourself back up and keep going. It will be worth it. Even when it seems impossible, you will find a way to keep going. You'll figure out the path that's needed to keep going. The other thing I will say about the 22/4 is you could feel very busy at this time. So you could feel like you have a lot on your plate, a lot of responsibilities, a lot to tend to. And instead of getting overwhelmed, you might need to find ways to delegate that or get assistance in some way, recognize where your limitations are and ask for assistance there. But don't allow yourself to get sort of stuck in the frustration, because nothing will sort of trip you up quicker in a 22/4 cycle than frustration. So if you're feeling frustrated, turn your attention to what is working. Where is there movement? Put your energy there and you'll see the flow. If it's not working, just take your foot off the gas for a while. The solution will show up. And when it does, then you can put your energy back there. But trying to force or control something is not going to make it work. And getting frustrated because it's not working is not going to make it work. So put your energy towards the things that are working, and the solution will come up for what's not working, and then you can apply the pressure as needed without trying to force. Now, I pulled the tarot card for you all, and you got the 7 of Cups. And so I just feel like this is so aligned with 22/4 energy because, again, 22/4 energy usually brings in additional responsibility, lots of decisions and choices to be made. And so ultimately it's going to be most important that you continuously come back to your why. Why is it that I'm doing what I'm doing? Why am I showing up in this way? Why is it that I want what I want? And that's going to help you to make the important decisions when the options come in. So with that 22/4 energy, you could see a lot of new potential opportunities. People could be coming to you for your expertise, for your wisdom, for your gifts, whatever. And you have to decide what's most important to you. What is it that deserves your attention at this time? What is it that you want to invest in? What makes sense for the long haul? Because it won't necessarily be easy. You won't necessarily see the instant gratification or those immediate rewards, but it's going to come. So you want to make sure that what you're investing in, or what you're choosing to invest your time and energy and resources into, is what you want to be connected to for the long haul. 22/4 energy is all about sustainability and longevity. So if you're trying to get rich quick, or you're trying to build something quickly, it's not going to last. So with the 7 of Cups, make your choices very wisely and let it stem from a place of your why. Why do you want it in the first place? And what do you want to do with it once you achieve it? Whatever it may be. So I do feel like you're going to have some decisions to make around this new moon, and you want to make sure that the decisions feed your soul, help you to become more free as opposed to limit you or sort of drain you. So choose wisely is what I would say. And again, be really careful about saying yes to the temptations, because there can be a lot of temptations coming in at this time. So come back to your why, and that will make you choose something that feels most aligned for you in this moment, and you're not getting swept up with all of the potential temptations sitting at your door. Life Path 11 too. So you're going to be working with the vibration of the 24/6 for this illumination. And this is because this is the new moon. This can bring in new beginnings, new cycles, new opportunities. And for you all, it's going to be centered around relationships, more than likely. And that can be romantic relationships. It can be friendships or colleagues. It can be pets. It can be the relationship with yourself. But how we relate to another, including ourselves, is in the spotlight. And because you have the vibration of the 4 in between, right, stacked right in between the 2 and the 6, this is foundational. So this is something where this energy is helping you to make very solid, long-lasting decisions when it comes to your relationships. What it is that you want to build or be a part of. is meant to be something, right? Or a relationship that has substance, that feels sort of safe and secure and not superficial. So this is one of those cycles where, because the 4 is like the glue that holds everything together, it likely will have you looking at your connections and seeing, where are like the true connections where I feel like I can be myself, where I feel like this is something I can continue to build on, or we can build on together, where, it strengthens my sense of self as opposed to deteriorates it. So, and again, obviously we can't just discard connections where, they don't check the boxes of everything I just said. But we can see those connections for what they are. And every connection serves a purpose. And sometimes those connections serve their purpose and then they fall away. And so this could just be a cycle that's helping you to see that whether your pool of people who support you, are your greatest cheerleader, are solid as a rock, that might be very small, but it's also very mighty and worth the continued investment and, doing what's needed in order to continue to help those connections to grow. And likewise, some of those connections that just feel more superficial, or there's a lot of cracks in that foundation, or they've served their purpose, or they're not serving their purpose, those connections might break at this time. This can be sort of that make or break type of energy when it comes to those connections that can really shift that dynamic in some way. But there is also this energy of the realization or the understanding that if a relationship falls away at this time, there's almost like, I want to say relief, but there's like this understanding, like, okay, this has served its purpose. It needs to fall away. It can be done in love and understanding. Doesn't have to be done in ugliness. That allows you to put your energy and time and investments into those connections that are solid, that are working, that are still, serving a greater purpose in the lives of all involved. So heavy relationship emphasis at this time. And so anything you can do to strengthen your connections at this time, anything you can do to, take responsibility and accountability for how you are showing up in those connections is going to be really important during this time. And it's really going to help, again, to either make or break that union. You could meet someone new at this time. And if you do meet someone new at this time, it's very possible that they will be in your life for quite some time, like soulmate kind of energy. Again, because of the 2 and the 6 and the 4 sitting smack dab in the middle. It's kind of like that Saturnian type of energy where it's the glue. So you might have this connection for quite some time. So it can, again, be a pet or a romantic partner or a friend, you name it. Or even that like boss or mentor that just changes your world in some way. So yeah, I do love this for you all. Now, the other thing I will say about this is it's going to require you to be very honest with the people in your life. If something's bothering you at work, you have to speak up for yourself. You have to advocate. If something's bothering you at home with your connection, if you need more support, or if something is just not sitting well with you, you have to speak up and advocate for yourself. You have to lay it out on the table and be very honest about that and give the other person an opportunity to understand why you feel the way you feel. And they can make the decisions from that, but you're not forcing them to sort of read your mind or, guess as to what's going on, because that doesn't serve anyone. So this is one of those times where, it's going to bubble to the surface what needs to be addressed in order to either make or break that connection in some way. So it's in your best interest to address what comes up to be addressed during this cycle. That is going to be super, super important. All right, I pulled a tarot card for you all, and this is interesting because, again, along the same lines, so you got the moon card, which of course is so appropriate because the new moon, but you got the moon energy. And so, what this really depicts is sort of all sides of you, right? Like recognizing your shadow sides, recognizing the higher octave of yourself, and embracing all sides of yourself as you move forward, and understanding that sometimes it takes difficult decisions in order to move forward, in order to expand, to grow, to evolve. And we don't always know what the path is going to look like. We might have an idea, but it's not fully illuminated. We don't know all the steps yet. We just have to have faith in ourselves and faith in the universe, and we have to trust. And we have to take, one step at a time in the direction that feels most aligned for us in this moment. And we can look to the past to inform, right? But we don't want to move back in that direction because we can't relive it. Even if we, reconnect with someone from the past, it's still going to look different than how it did in the past because people change and people evolve. So this is an opportunity to look to the future, to be very present with yourself and the experience you're having, but to look to the future and start to make steps in that direction and to leave what's in the past, right? Let it inform you, let it, guide you as far as like the wisdom that you extracted from those experiences. But there's no need to go back and swim in those infested waters, so to speak, right? Because you're likely going to get stung or re-stung, especially if you're just reliving past events and letting them dictate, what your future will look like. Let it inform you, again, like learn from the lessons of the past, but don't let it dictate what your future looks like. So if you had a messy breakup, don't let that influence your next experience, your next relationship. If things went sideways and, got out of control, you learn from that and do differently moving forward. And you have an opportunity to do that. And each step will be illuminated. You don't have to know 10 years into the future of what it's going to look like because your decisions in this moment are what are going to influence that. So make sure that your decisions and who you surround yourself with are what feels best for you now. So if this new moon brings in an opportunity to take a step in the direction of something new, something different, even if it feels scary, I say take the first step and then the next step, see where it takes you. Life Path 22-4. So we're going to be working with the vibration of the 35-8. This is a very high octave of the 8 energy. And so this brings into focus career, business, expertise, authority, finances. But because it's the higher octave, right, that 35, this is sort of a helping type of energy. So this is one of those times where I would say, if you need to ask for that loan or ask for assistance in some way or apply for that promotion or get your foot in the door somewhere, this is the time to ask for that, right? Not guaranteeing it's going to happen, but this is the time to ask for it. It's like all the energies are sort of working in our favor right now. It's not something where it's going to just be handed over to us, but when is it ever? But it is like where things can really kind of fall into place, where it starts to make sense. And we're like, okay, I can do this. I can do this step by step. Like if we kind of look at the bigger picture as 22-4s, it becomes overwhelming very, very quickly. Very, very quickly to where you're almost like, you can feel like you're kind of floating in the middle of the ocean without a life vest. And you're trying to figure out like, okay, now how do I get to land? But if we bring it down to the details, if we dial it into the details, if we dial it down to the step that we're facing right in front of us, we can take that step. We can figure that out. That's manageable. And as 22-4s, this is sort of a theme, a lifelong theme that we have to continue to work with. Because as we kind of focus on the bigger picture, it becomes overwhelming, and overwhelm leads to frustration, and frustration is the Achilles heel. So with this cycle, there is very potential, there's a very strong potential for new beginnings, new opportunities, new insights, new initiations, new goals. And there's also the potential that people, places, things will show up to assist us to be able to make it happen. But we have to keep bringing it back to the present moment and to the steps that are right in front of our face, and not, maintain the vision, but don't get overly focused on the vision, because then you're going to get overwhelmed. But what I like about this 35 energy is it says that we don't have to do it alone. We will get the reinforcements. We will get the help. We will get the assistance. We might have to figure out how to get the assistance. Like, who do we need to ask? Where do we need to reach out to? What do we need to do? And that can be where the tricky part comes in, because 4s and 22s tend to be very hyper independent, like to do it themselves. And And so this could be one of those lessons that we have to kind of work with to figure out like, all right, how do I bring more people on board? Like, how do I delegate? How do I stop trying to do it all myself? And there's going to be things, again, this is something as a 22-4 I'm currently grappling with. There are going to be those things that we do have to do on our own, that seems so much easier for other people. And then when we're faced with it, we're just like, oh shit. So, but you can reach out for the assistance and maybe not get it, but you'll figure out how to do it on your own. And there are going to be those experiences and those pieces that we have to manage. But as far as like the whole, like bringing the whole project to life, whatever that might be, or the whole thing to life, whatever, again, for you, it might be, you're not meant to do that all alone. Like it's meant to be a group project. And the 35 helps you to see where that is, like where you can work smarter, not harder, where you can offload, where you can delegate, where you can ask for support. And again, it doesn't have to be like work related or have to do with your contribution in the world, although it's 8 energy. So there's certainly something here around the physical plane, right? Money, power, status, influence, etc. Your authority, your expertise, your wisdom, and how you express that or share that in the world. But you're not meant to figure it all out alone, and you're not meant to do it alone. And the 35 is a helping energy, so it can bring that in. You just have to be open to it and be willing to say yes to it. And sometimes asking for that can be the hardest part. So, yeah. But this is one of those times where you'll likely get a green light in some way, even if it's a little green light, but that can like create that flow. So just stay alert, stay aware of the next step and what's sort of needed in order for you to accomplish that next step. And then start from there. This is a cycle where I would say, anything can happen. Anything can happen. We have that 5 energy. So, it just brings in that sort of erratic, kind of chaotic energy that's a bit disruptive. So I would say be as adaptable as possible, as malleable as possible. Don't feel like you need to control every aspect of everything because you're going to get frustrated really quickly. So be prepared for whatever the cosmos send your way during this cycle. And just be willing to move when the time comes to move. And the other thing I would say is, this is a cycle that can definitely bring in more responsibility, the need for greater discipline, to have patience, and to be able to kind of, again, maneuver through some of the additional pressures that might come your way during this cycle. But remembering that, if it's something you can hand off, if it's something you can delegate, then do so. Don't feel like, there's no room for martyrdom when it comes to any of this. So if it's something that you can get assistance with, then get the assistance. It's also going to be really, really important to, make time for rest, rejuvenation, for downtime. That's usually something that 22-4s also struggle with for the most part, is knowing when to say when, right? Knowing when to take the break and to pause and to not feel like you have to be productive 24/7. So, burnout is a real thing. And when we're working with some of these stronger energies, especially these higher octave energies, burnout can happen quickly. So pace yourself. It's okay to pace yourself. That's, we know this, we have to be in it for the long haul. So don't get easily discouraged by the first or second no, or the thing that just requires much more effort. You'll find your way through it and then continue to persevere, but don't forget to rest along the way, refuel, rejuvenate. That's what's going to keep you on track and, being able to continue to persevere and to see it through to completion. Now, I pulled a tarot card for us, and not surprisingly, we got the Knight of Pentacles. And so again, this is a very, obviously this is very much like money related, a sense of security, a strong sense of security, feeling very stable and very grounded in your work, in whatever it is that you're investing in or contributing towards. But not only that, the Knight of Pentacles is like assistance. It's help from the outside that's coming in to help us to achieve the goal that we're looking to achieve. And, it can help to bring in that sense of relief or a sense of security. So the key here is we're not looking for someone to save us. We're looking for someone to come in and walk with us who can, contribute in a way that helps us to achieve the greater vision, whatever that might be. But with the Knight of Pentacles coming through, coupled with this 8 energy, there's something here around finances, maybe inheritance that comes through, some kind of loan, some kind of investment that can come through that can really shift the momentum, can really shift your perspective when it comes to what's possible at this time. So yeah, it just kind of adds legs to the project or, the relationship or whatever it is that is, for you. It can also be around like money, obviously, but like power, status, right? Or influence. So you might see that you get an uptick in clients or your project or your work, or you get greater exposure in some way. And that can really bring in that greater sense of like security or feeling like, okay, what I have to offer is very much needed. And that can kind of put the wind back in your sails, etc. So I really like this cycle for us. I do. It's going to require obviously the work, but it also is going to require to like not overly burden yourself and to recognize when you need to ask for help and when to delegate and all that good stuff. So I hope it's a great one. Take care. Life Path 33.6, you are going to be working with the vibration of the 46.1 for this illumination. So this cycle could feel very tender, very like emotional and sensitive, but also very nostalgic. This is an opportunity for you all to get reacquainted with someone or something that feels very supportive, very like nurturing in some way. And so connecting with old friends or someone maybe you used to work with or something like that, or just having a dream of, I don't know, like a pet you used to have and then waking up and feeling very much like that love from that connection is very possible at this time. So definitely pay attention to your dreams, pay attention to who comes up in conversation, because sometimes that nostalgia, it's a feeling. So it might be nostalgia for a grandparent or something like that who's no longer with you, on this plane, but who still has that ability to lift your spirits in some way, to make you feel content and at peace. And it's that kind of energy that this 46.1 can bring in. So if you have the opportunity to get connected with, with old friends at this time, or even if it's online, right, over Zoom or something, this is such a beautiful time to do that. And I think that you can gain a lot from that, because sometimes we don't need to necessarily see the person, but just that, just that moment of connection, whether it's through nostalgia, whether it's through a memory, or whether it is from actually seeing the person, has the power to really uplift us for the next journey. So, this is one of those times where I would say anything nostalgic, anything that makes you feel that contentment, I would say go for it. Embrace it, entertain it for a while. Don't rush from the moment. Instead, give yourself some time to embrace it and to reap the benefits from it. The other thing I would say with this is with the 46.1, it can definitely put you in the center of attention. So you might step into some kind of leadership role, whether it's in your own life, in the life of your family, at work, something like that. You could definitely see that you're kind of being put in the spotlight, and your words are going to matter, your actions are going to matter. So choose wisely. The other thing is you could see this be kind of a rewarding cycle where you might receive some kind of gift or inheritance, or some kind of promotion could come up from a situation that happened in the past, or again, like that, the distant past, where maybe again, like you get some kind of inheritance from a cousin that you didn't know you were so important to, but they bequeathed you their inheritance. Some things like that are very, very possible. And that inheritance or that gift or whatever could really assist in what you want to achieve now. So it can be quite a gift at this time. Is possible. Now, again, this is a general reading. It's not going to happen for everyone, but it's very possible that could happen for someone out there. But ultimately, again, you might see old friends come up, or old partners could come up at this time as well. And what I would say is don't be too quick to dismiss. Just have the conversations, see what they can bring to your life in this moment, because we all change, we all evolve. And if we're reconnecting, it's because the universe is putting us in each other's paths again for some reason. So what can we learn from that? What can we gain from that? And maybe it's just to recognize the beauty in each other, and who we've become, and then we move in different directions again. Anything is possible. The other thing I would say is joy and contentment are very much the protocol for this cycle. So do the things that make you happy, that fill you up, that, bring contentment into your life, that, that make you feel happy and at peace, because then you can share that with others, right? And so that actually has the power to uplift the vibration, not only of you, but of those whose lives you touch through your presence, which can be incredibly, incredibly beautiful. This is also a really supportive cycle, so it can really help you to achieve some of your greater goals now, or at least get the ideas or the inspirations that you'll start to put into motion that will help you to achieve those. So, again, pay attention to the people, places, things that come in that can assist you, that can help you, or that give you the inspiration to get started or to keep going. But this is that supportive energy from people, places, things, but also from the universe that is helping you to get very much aligned with your current mission, your current purpose, your current goals, and can help you to open some doors that'll help you to achieve those. It's going to require your effort, though, and to continue to show up, obviously. But I think you can gain some significant momentum here. And that can bring in some enthusiasm and excitement for what it is that you're pursuing. And I think ultimately you're going to feel very supported in the process. And that support can come from very unexpected places. So be open to it. I pulled a tarot card for you all, and you got the Eight of Cups. So this is interesting because, the Eight of Cups depicts some kind of very sensitive, raw, emotional experience that you're walking away from, or something where you're very emotionally invested in it. Or maybe you really wanted to see it work out and you felt really connected to it in some way, but you're kind of being forced because of life or circumstances to move in a different direction, to part ways from whatever this is. It doesn't have to be necessarily a relationship. It could be a goal that you had for yourself. It could be an idea, whatever, a belief system, whatever. But there's something here that's pushing you in a different direction. And I think it'll become very clear around this new moon as to why you have to move in that different direction. And so it's not a matter of will I move in that other direction? It's how do I release what I'm moving away from my past in order to be fully present for what's next. And I think that ultimately it's just that reminder that we can't move forward if we're stuck in the past. So though I just talked about nostalgia and connecting, to past experiences, etc., I think there's something to be said. And I think that's why this Eight of Cups is coming through. Is there, the balance is key. So yes, visit the past, get filled up from the nostalgia, but don't stay there because you're not there anymore, right? So use it to, give you that buoyancy to find your rhythm moving forward. But don't get stuck there. It's when we get stuck there that we start to get consumed by the past, and then regret starts to come in, or what if, or I should have, and then it just all starts to unravel. So visit it, get filled up by it, but then recognize when it's time to move forward. And if there is something that you're being asked to move on from at this time, recognize the beauty that it brought into your experience while you were having it, or recognize what it taught you and, the opportunity that it gave to you, and move away from it with grace and compassion for yourself and for those involved, but recognizing that everything's transient, everything serves a purpose, and there always comes a time where we have to move on. So this might be one of those times for you, and it's going to be important that you honor the emotions that come up for you, but also recognize the beauty of the opportunity to have had the experience and what it brought, what it taught you, no matter how difficult the lesson might have been. All right, 33s, I hope it's a great one. Take care. A Life Path 44-8. So you all are going to be working with some pretty groundbreaking energy around this new moon. And I would say this is one of those times where a tremendous amount of growth is possible. And so the experiences that come in, if they feel challenging or like they're, of opposition or kind of pushes you outside of your comfort zone or pushes you to kind of push the envelope in some way, and if that feels difficult, to recognize that there's a tremendous amount of wisdom waiting on the other side of this. And remember, 44s are the wisdom keepers. And so your journey is one of basically moving through and jumping through hoops in order to collect that wisdom. And this could be one of those cycles where you're unlocking more wisdom, let's put it that way. So you're going to be working with the vibration of the 57-3. And this is one of those times where you could see some delays. You could see some necessary separation at this time. So, maybe some things that you thought were in your best interest and you had been working towards, maybe they go sideways, maybe they don't work out, maybe you're redirected in some way. And it's going to be really important that you don't get stuck in the why, right? Having to understand why that happened, but that you're able to shift somewhat quickly into the, okay, what's next? What's the next step? How do I move on from this? How do I move forward? Because that's going to keep you moving. That's going to keep you from getting stuck in the resentment or the frustration or the anger that might come up about, like, I put so much time and energy into this and now it's not working out. Damn the universe, right? But the reality is, anytime we're rerouted, anytime we're moved in a different direction, it's because we've got everything we can out of that particular path, out of that particular experience. And we might not have seen that it was time to change gear or change direction, but the universe, our soul, knew it was time. And so the redirect comes in. And though that can feel really earth-shattering at times for the ego, the soul is not setting us up for failure. It's directing us in the way that is in the highest good of our soul, right? In the highest good of all involved. So if you're redirected at this new moon, see the redirect for what it is. And don't fight it, is one thing I will definitely say. Don't fight it. Feel the emotions that come up with having to shift gears again or change direction or face the opposition or whatever comes in for you. But don't fight it. Because in fighting it, you're not going to change it. You're not going to be able to hold on to it. You're just going to make yourself frustrated in the process. And that was just going to keep you stuck. So this is one of those cycles where you have to be very gentle with yourself, very gentle with others, give yourself grace. And if there are delays, pack your patience. This is a new moon for you all that I would say pack your patience. And if things go awry, just pull out your sandwich and nibble on it until things settle down. There's no sense in getting reactive. There's no sense in trying to, again, get overly focused on like, why is this happening? Why is this happening to me? Why is this happening? It's happening. So what can you work with? What can you release and what can you work with? And how do we move forward? That is what is going to serve you best during this cycle. It's going to be really important to sort of maintain a real logical approach to any emotional situations that come up now. So again, be careful about being overly reactive, falling into victim mode, like, oh my gosh, why is this happening to me? Nothing ever works out. Everything's always so hard. You guys have double fours. So, I'm a life path 4. I get it. Everything takes a lot of effort. Everything takes a lot of like showing up and perseverance and just a lot of work and effort to see the rewards. And sometimes those rewards don't feel that great or worth the effort, but eventually they are. So keep going. But, this is one of those cycles where it would be really easy to get frustrated and throw a fit. And you're not doing yourself or anyone else service in doing that. So manage your emotions. Feel what you need to feel, but transmute that energy into something constructive rather than destructive. And try to stay grounded and have that logical approach. Like, okay, this is happening. What are my options? What's the next step? How do I move forward? And get a plan. and figure it out as you go, which you're great at. You're great at doing that as 44/8s. So figure it out. You will figure it out. And you don't have to do it alone. Call on people to help you. But this is one of those times where if you let your emotions take over, I mean, it's going to be like quicksand, and you're going to be stuck in that sort of vicious circle that's it's not serving anything. Also, this is one of those cycles where there could be a lot of peaks and valleys, a lot of ups and downs. And so, this is one of those cycles where instead of letting that consume you, find a way to, find some kind of outlet for your creativity to express those moods constructively, express that energy constructively. I always say, our emotions are our magic, because we just have to figure out how to use it. And when we are just shooting that charged energy just any which way, it can be very destructive. But when we feel it and it's intense and we can figure out how to transmute it into something constructive, that's power. That is powerful. That is the magician at play. So I do think that this is a cycle for some of you where you could have an opportunity to flex that muscle. How do you transmute that charged energy? What does it look like? So your creativity could really flourish at this time, but you have to be active in trying to find those outlets to express that creativity. And you can use those emotions as fuel, again, for something constructive. And that's power. That is true power. The other thing I would say about this, again, this cycle can bring in separations. It can bring in disappointments. It can bring in delays, especially in relationships. So that's very, very possible. So it brings in sort of that additional sensitive kind of raw layer. So, just work with what you're being given, and you will find a way through it. And if it's a breakup that you have to move through at this time, some of the best music out there comes from breakups. Some of the best art comes from breakups and the emotions that we have to move through because of those breakups. So it's just a way to kind of redirect, but also work with and feel whatever it is that you're feeling. And if it's delays that come your way, don't get frustrated with the delays. Again, y'all are double fours, 44. I mean, delays are the name of the game. And it just reminds us that we have to be patient and do things step by step and be methodical and take our time and not rush the process. So I would say use the experiences of this cycle for growth. And how can it add to the wisdom, right, that you already have in your toolkit? And I would say there likely will be a good amount of wisdom that comes through for you at this new moon. Now, I hesitate to say this, but I pulled a tarot card for you all, and you got the Tower. Now, the Tower is not an energy to fear in tarot. It's just one that indicates a necessary change, a redirect, an awakening, an aha moment, seeing something very clearly that we weren't able to see before. And usually we have to move through a difficult experience in order to see very clearly. So it's very possible that might be, coming in. And the Tower energy, though it can feel a little bit oh shit, it's not meant to scare, right? It's just saying some kind of clarity is needed, significant clarity, an aha moment, a shakeup is needed. And if all things are harmonious and in balance and running smoothly in your life, then you probably won't even see any of this energy. You might have to hold space and be a container for someone else moving through it. But if there's areas in your life where you are stuck, or where you are stuck in victim mode, or where you are, whatever, then, you probably see it, and it just comes in as that aha moment, that significant shakeup. But guess what? It's moving you towards something better. It's moving you towards that greater sense of empowerment and being able to not only accumulate and gain that wisdom, but to share it in a healthy way so that you're sharing it in a way that's helpful and not harmful. So big energies, 44s, but nothing you can't handle. I hope it's a great one. Take care. Bye for now.